Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today on Masechtas Yevamot daf Lamed Tes, we're going to begin on the bottom of Lamed Chesed Beis, 2 lines from the bottom by Omer. So we learned in the Mishnah that when it comes to a Shemeres Yavam, and afterwards she has possessions that she inherited, so she gets these Nichsim Elug. Everyone agrees, Beis Shammai Beis Hillel both agree that she's able to sell it because she has absolute control over these this money and this property. However, when it comes to the Seifa, what happens if she dies? So on this, Beis Shammai says Yachloku, which the question is, that seems to imply that she really doesn't have this control, that it's not in her chazaka. Now, Beis Hillel, it's not a question, because according to Beis Hillel, she still has this control. The question is, how come, according to Beis Shammai, when she's alive, she's able to sell it, but when she died, for some reason, no longer do we just say it automatically goes to her heirs, but rather, all of a sudden, Yachloku. So we gave a couple of explanations. So now we're going to continue with Abaya. Abaya Omer, Reisha, where she was able to sell the Nichsim Elug while she was alive, the Nafaluk, because she Shemeres Yavam, is when she received it when she was Shemeres Yavam. So since she got it as a Shemeres Yavam, the Yavam didn't really have the control over it. However, Seifa the Nafaluk Kashi Tachtav the Baal. When it comes to the situation of the Seifa, is when she inherited the Nichsim Elug only afterwards. Says Rashi, the Nafaluk Kashi Tachas Bala Harisha, is talking about a situation where she was still married, rather, to the first person, to her original husband. As we continue the Lamed Testament Aleph. V'ksavar Abaye, and according to Abaye, he holds Yadu ki Yada. What does that mean? That his hand's like her hand. So this is actually a machlokus. This is brought down in this top Rashi. Nonetheless, I feel Hachal Beis Hillel Nechasim B'ches Kasam, that it remains like in her control. Why? Because Abaye holds Nesua Yada Kiyada, that while she was married to her first husband, she has the same control as he does. V'lo Yoser, and not that he has any more control over her possessions, they're equal. Hilka Kishemes, so when her husband died, Ve'en Liyavam Ba Elazika, so the second man, all he has is a Zika, Yada Guriya Biyada, so he has a weak hand compared to her, because even when they're married, it's equal, which is mashma, if all there is a zika, she has a stronger hand. And therefore, unachasim b'ches kasa, and therefore the nechasim are like in her control. That's the reason why Beis Hillel says that din, that according to Beis Hillel, when it comes to the nichsim elug, he says that it's not considered to be Yarshi Habal, but rather it goes to the Yarshi Ha'al. So, because it belongs to her. Beis Shammai pligi, Beis Shammai disagree, the Amri Nesu Yado Adifa Miyada, that really his hand of the first husband was stronger than hers when she was Yarish this Nichsim Elug. Therefore, Kushemes, when he dies, Yad HaYavam Kiyada. The truth is, the Yavam's hand, I agree, is not as strong as the original husband, but at least it should be equal to her, B'achlok, and therefore needs to be divided. So that's the svara. What is when the Nichsim Elug are in her hands at the time when she was married? So the question is, what strength does her husband have compared to her? Okay. So Emily Rava. The Baal, 1 second. If you want to tell me the case that she actually was kind of this Nichsim Elug while she was married, then certainly her husband's hand is stronger than hers. And therefore, says Rashi, we would say that the Yersha Baal should be able to take the Nechasim, or maybe equally, or something like that, but not that she has all rights to it. Now, really, the Reish and the Seifa, we're talking about where she was Yerushet while she was a Shemeres Yavam. Because if she would have been Yerushet while she was still married to the first guy, then we would still say that his hand is stronger than hers, and therefore the second husband would certainly have some control over it. So he'd go to Yerushet Habal. So Reisha Dolo Ovid B'Maimer, Seifa de B'Maimer. So the Reisha, reason why she has complete control over it while she was kind of the Nixim Elog as a Shemer Shavam, is because the second guy never did Maimer. So that Zika wasn't so strong, and therefore it's still hers. However, the Seifa is where Maimer was done. And since Maimer was done, so therefore he has a stronger connection to it. It's almost like he's married to her, and therefore she doesn't have the right just to simply sell. Maimer l'beishama oisa vadi arusa v'savik nesua. Since Maimer, according to Beishama, is very strong, he says what it does is it actually creates a vadi arusa v'savik nesua. So therefore it becomes to the level of some element of marriage. Vade arusa lidchais b'tzara. So we say that it pushes off, once Maimer is done, as we said, if you do Maimer with a woman, so if she has a co-wife, it pushes her off, that's enough that she is no longer zakuk. The suffix nesua lachlik menachasim. When it comes to the element of suffix nesua, because in this case, again, it's a suffix of whose it is, so it will divide up the possessions. Itmar mishmei Rabbi Lezer kavas to Rabbi. V'imar mishmei Rabbi Yosi, Rabbi Chanina. So kavas to Abaya, kavas to Abaya. So mi Rabbi Lezer hachin, as he said this. Rabbi Lezer, Maim leBeishame enu kaina el widchais b'tzar b'lvad. I thought Beishame holds that all Maimer does, it says, is Davka had the capacity to be able to be push off the tzara. So how could you tell me that he holds it's also lach like menachasim? So ipoch. So switch the names around. Iboy say mo'oymo tepach. Hamalach Belezer ki amriyana lo sagi lo beget el deboy na mechalitza. However, lach menachasim deloi kan mi amri. He wasn't talking about dividing a property over there. He just had to discussing the lo sagi lo beget el deboy na mechalitza. Now, once you do Maimer, it's necessary that you also need to do chalitza, but it's nothing to do. We weren't talking about the din of Yerusha, so maybe that he agrees with. Omer Papa, the Yukad Masnisin Kavasid Abaya. Now, based on the language, it sounds a lot like this opinion of Abaya, who's machalik between when she was got it from as a shemer shavam or tacht of the Baal. How do we see that? Now, the kasha mesa, even though it's difficult to understand why does he even mention the case of mesa, the whole chiluk is just when she was Yerushin. The tani nechasam and nechnasim b'yotzin ima. My nechnasim, my yotzin. What does it mean the money went in or out? Lav nechasam urshusabal, b'yotzin urshusabal. That's urshusav. That's talking about that in the Seifa that it was actually. She was Yerushet at the time of being married, and therefore that's what it means, that it was Nichnas or Shusabal from her first husband, and now it should be Yotzim or Shusabal or Shusaav, and it should go to the Rishus of the father. The Yav Kasha Mesa Adamifli Begufa Leachar Misa Lifagu B'Chayehu LaPeris of Sulamidi. Again, the reality is it shouldn't even have to be arguing about the case of when she died, which the reality is the whole chiluk could even be when she's alive. Okay. Kansa, so Harihi, so we had this Gemara before also. So when she's married, when she has Yibum, she's your wife for all matters. So my hakas is Rav Yosef Rav Chanina, Lemer Shemigar Shebeget Umachzira. That when she's married, you have to give her a get. And you are allowed to remarry her. So migarsha beget pshita. Why would you think not? Sachdeda hayil. Sachdeda hayil. Ksiva kachol isha v'yimma amrachmana ve'dan yibumi harishon aleha b'chalitza in beget lo kamashmon. You would think that maybe when it comes to this situation, even though you did yibum, the only way of getting out of it is with chalitza. You don't give a get. Kamash one. No, she's like your regular wife now, and you give her a get. Machzira. So if let's say you do divorce, you can remarry her. We know that you could always remarry your wife as long as she didn't marry one in the middle. So pshita sakdat lamina mitzvah deram rachman aleha. That the Torah gives you this mitzvah of the hashda teikum olei be'isrei shasach kamash one. You would think maybe, okay, now is the mitzvah that we allow you to marry this woman. However, if afterwards you decide to divorce her, maybe the din of Eishasach, as we said before, the din of Eishasach, according to some sheets, is mitla tali. It's hanging, so it's not like it doesn't exist. So maybe it comes back. Kamashmul no. Be'em hachinami summer kra lekachol leisha. Kibon shalach. Once you take her, hari kiish l'chol davar. Avad shetehei ksubasa. So he said that the ksub is to the first husband. So my time isha hikdulo min hashemayim, because this woman is min hashemayim. He acquired her from heaven, says Rashi. Lo she ibed nechasav ksubasa. Not that his possessions are connected to it. V'yochol machar b'chol eish yirtze. V'i leislo min harishon tikli misheni k'dei shel tehei kal be'ena b'hoitzia. If let's say though that there's no money from the first, so then the second one has to kick in because we don't want her to be easy. It shouldn't be easy in his eyes for her to let her go. Okay. Weiter. So actually, let's look at question 7, which seems to be out of place. Al nichse mi moitelos ksubas hayavama. So whose nechasim does the ksubas hayavama go to? So okay, we just did this. Al nichse rishon v'im eino nechasim al nichse sheni. Okay, so that in fact is what we just saw, which is question 7. Okay. Next Mishnah. Mitzvah begadol. When it comes to Yibum, the oldest brother is the one who's supposed to do it. Mitzvah begadol le'avim. Lo ratza. Let's see, doesn't want to do it. Mahalchin al kol ach, and then we go down the line to the younger brothers. Lo ratza. Let's say none of them want to do it. Then we go back to the oldest brother. Mitzvah. I want you to do either Yibum or Chlitza. Now, what if he says, and I'm not going to do it. Talo b'katan. Once you hang by the katan, he's a little kid, and we'll wait ad sheyagdil until he gets old enough to be able to do so. Or obegadol, maybe he's an adult. Yom. Right now he's in another country, and he'll come back in a few years and he'll do it then. O cheresh, o shaita. So let's say he's a cheresh or a shaita. And he says, you know what? He's going to hopefully be healed one day, and he'll have the mental capacity to do it. So, ein shaymin lo. We don't listen to him. We don't say you don't have to push it off anymore. You're the one that does it. And even though perhaps you may have other people that could do it, says Rashi, Alecha mitzvah shavabi shachicha sheminisiyam gadol mimcha. Kivan shi'ata gadol ha'achin shlefanenu alecha mitzvah. The shehuyi mitzvah loy meshahinon. We're not going to allow you to just push off this mitzvah. So even if your oldest brother is in another country, there's no way he can get here. So we don't say, oh, well, let me wait for my oldest brother to do it. No, you have to do it. You take responsibility. Weiter. Itmar. So, bias katan v'chalitzas gadol. What if you have two options? A younger brother to actually do bia, which means yibum, or the older brother, which seems like that's what you're supposed to do, the oldest, but you don't want to do chalitza. So, plig Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Shimon Levi. Chad oimer bias katan adifa. Says that actually the kid should do yibum, the younger one, but not a katan mamish, but it means the younger brother. The oldest should do chalitza. That yibum should be done. So if he's the only one that's going to do yibum, so he should do it. Chalitzas gadol adifa bimkoim gadol bias katan lav klomhi. He says because since you have the gadol that's willing to do something, so it's ki'ilu like it's nothing, because the mitzvah is on the oldest one to do. Tanan. Lo ratza, so the Mishnah said, if no one else wants to do it, If he doesn't want to do it, then go to all the other brothers. He only wants to do chalitza. So we see the oldest brother says, I'll do chalitza. And the other brother says, okay, I'll do yibum. Or so that would be, we'd rather have them do yibum than the oldest one do chalitza. So right, whoa. Maybe it means that he doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't want to do yibum, the oldest brother, doesn't want to do chalitza. Only then, but maybe if Hitako says, all right, I'll do chalitza, we should just have him do chalitza. Which is comparable to the other brothers who don't want to do anything either. So my chayzun eitzel gadol. So the question is, why do we go back to the oldest? Lemichve lididhu kivan the mitzvah alei didei ramya lididei kafinon, because the mitzvah is on him, so therefore on him we're going to pressure him that he has to do it. Tanan tolo b'katan. Let's say the oldest brother says, you know what? Wait for my younger brother to do it. He's a little kid, but that's okay. I'll wait. Wait. She can wait. Ain't shame. We don't listen. Bias katan adifa. If the bia of tashmish and yibum of a katan is better, am I ain't shaymin lo? What's the problem? Nintar. Let him wait. Let her wait. Dilma gadol miavim. Maybe once he becomes a gadol, he'll do yibum. And where says one second. Not time eich. It says on the side of Miyavim. So why do you say the same thing? He's coming from Medina Siyam, the oldest brother. Well, maybe he'll come and he'll want to do Yibum. El kol shui mitzvah loimer shehinon. Any element of delaying a mitzvah, we're not going to want you to delay. We want you to do the mitzvah, and we're not pushing this off. Obviously, we're also dealing with a person, this woman who is in the status of a Shemer Shavam, and it's not fair to keep her waiting either. Lamed Testament Beis. Isti Amri, some say it differently. So again, maybe there's a machlokus, should we choose the gadol to do chalitza or the katan to do yibum? So Isti Am, no. But Bia Kuliyam La Pligi to be as katan adifa. There's no question. Better that even the younger brother, let him do yibum. So keep pligi b'chalitzas katan. Machlokus is when it comes to the chalitza of the katan. V'hachi itmar chalitzas katan v'chalitzas gadol. They're both want to do chalitza. The question is, do we really care who does chalitza? The younger or only the older one? So pligi b'Rav Yochanan Rabbi Shimon Levi. Chad omer chalitzas gadol adifa. Chad omer ki hadanin are the same. Madem chalitzas gadol adifa the mitzvah begadol. It's better to have the older boy do it. The idol ki omer the mitzvah begadol in yibum. I mean the chalitza kahadadinin who. The only preference is if it's the oldest brother to do yibum. But chalitza, what's the difference? Tanan lo ratzu. If the oldest one doesn't want, so chayzun eitzel gadol. And none of them want, so we go back to the adult. So my level, the other brothers are willing to say, all right, I'll do chalitza. I'm not going to do yibum. Well, I'll do chalitza. So he said, no. If you only want to do chalitza, I'd rather the older one do chalitza, which is mashma. We'd rather the older one do chalitza. Low. It's talking about a situation where none of them want to do anything. They don't even want to do chalitza. So therefore you have no choice but to go to the oldest one to at least let him do the chalitza. What does it mean that we go back? That we force him to do it. So therefore we force him. Tashma. So let's wait for the oldest one to come back from another country in Shemlo. No, we're not going to listen. Now, in second, if it's better for the oldest one to do chalitza, so my in Shemlo, nintar dilma asil v'cholitz. And this is the proper girsa. Here, why don't you wait until let him do chalitza? It's better. So l'taimech b'katamachi yagdil in Shemlo amai nintar dilma gadol me'avim. You can say the same thing. Why, if this kid's 12 years old, maybe he's going to want to do yibum. As we said, we're not going to delay. Tanan hasan. Mitzvahs yibum kodemas mitzvahs chalitza. So when it comes to doing these two things, we'd rather you do Yibum first. People did the mitzvos properly, so that's why Yibum should come first. So therefore, Bisman Azeh, we're not on such a madrega, so we do Chalitza instead. Rav ein koifin. On this, Rav says ein koifin. What does that mean? Says Rashi, if both, let's say, like each other, we're not going to force them to do chalitza. The name of lav mitzvah mechavani. Say, oh, they're not doing the mitzvah properly. You pog b'isser eishes ach el iboy miyavim. If they want to do yibum, we're not going to stop them. Umiyu heicha dehu tzavli yavume v'ihi amar lo beina. Like, let's say she doesn't want v'amar devarim nikarim kimatzinu latmuye v'loimer loyulach leitzla al menashe titin locham asayim zuz, etc. He quotes the Gemara, Minayin liyavama shnafel efnei mukashchin she'in chais menaisa v'lo teima mukashchin davka el kol matala shetitin l'devareha. So anything that she says, if she's not interested in marrying this person, so we're not going to force it. Okay, weiter. So kiyasol kimei the Rav Omerlahu. If you want, you could do chalitza or yibum. But didach to you, tol rachmana, the im loy dachmatz ish ha'im chafetz. So it says if you don't want this man, if the man doesn't want to marry her, do yibum, so you can do chalitza. Which is mashma ha'im chafetz if he wants. Iboy chalitz, iboy yavim, he could. Yav Yehuda summer in kaifin. Even he holds the din of in kaifin. That again, if they both like each other, we're not going to force them to only do chalitza; they can do yibum. Mid askin Rabbi Huda begita the chalitza, the fact that he instituted, quote, "Eich ploinus bas ploinus, you ploinus bas ploinus, akras yat ploini yavama ke damana lebeidina," that she was this yavama brought to this beis din, v'ish ta moedinu. Diachvua de misna mi abanihu, and the Beis Din clarified regarding this man who died. The Amrullah it's savas liyabim, and some say that it's included. If you want to be yavim, you could do the ilo. If you don't, then itlale raglich diamina, then stick out literally your right foot. The itlo ragli diamina. She sticks out the right foot. Usharis tseni mi al raglahi. They untie the shoe from her foot. The yurakas beyond poihi, and there's spit in front. Ruka de mischazia lebeidina al ara, and it has to be a spittle that is visible to the beis din on the ground. So again, it does mention if you want to do, you could do. So why would we say that? Because we're not going to force you to do chalitza. If you want, you could do chalitza. Okay, Taisa says near al ara delit sarach. It's not necessarily to be on the ground. Okay. Rechia baravi masayim bo mishmid Rabbi Yehuda v'akrinu madiksib sfar raisa demoisha, and will be written that which is written in the Torah. Ishtamoidinhu ploini bo ishtamoidinhu. So we said. To like the basin needs to clarify. So pligim Ravacha Ravina Chaimer be'edim v'chademer feel karoiv, feel isha. So when it says that this matter needs to be explained and clarified and rectified, so the question is, what does that mean? So one shot is be'edim, says Rashi, says sarach havi shnei edim shu achi hameis mi'aviv, that you need to actually have two witnesses that can testify that this is the brother of the dead man from the father's side. And another sheet that says, no, if you kara, fil isha, you don't need Adam for this. The hilchos gili milsa almahu, and the halacha is that you don't actually need edim when it's a milsa, when it's a gili milsa ba'alma. You feel karba, feel isha. So in that situation, we're lenient because it's not something in which is necessary to have such edus. Question TA22. TA22. The question is, the im sarach edim ksherim. Do you need kosher witnesses? Shu'achi hames. Umat sad shein sarach edim ksherim. So he says, pluta damaroi. Basvar shein sarach edim ksherim davi gili milsa be'alma. TA22. Okay. So then the Gemara says as follows: the Rishayna Shayim Chavana M'Shem Mitzvah, that people used to do the mitzvahs for the right kavana, for the right reasons. So therefore, because of that, mitzvahs yibum could have mitzvahs chalitza. Do yibum bor chalitza. V'achshav Shem Chavana M'Shem Mitzvah. So therefore, Amru mitzvahs chalitza could have some mitzvahs yibum. Amru Bar Chama Amru Rabbi Yitzchak Chazul Loimer. Then we retracted to say mitzvahs yibum could have some mitzvahs chalitza. Actually, yibum should come before. So Amalei Rav Nachman or Yitzchak, ichshur dari. What are you telling me? He says Rashi Bimya, v'chi miskasher hadaris. So you telling me that the generations are getting better? That's why you change it. So mikara savri la k'abashol. Originally he held like the opinion of Abashol. And then afterwards he held like the Rabbanon. Who are they? The Sanya. Abashol Eimer. Kindness is Yevimto L'Shem Noi. Let's say a person does Yibum, but he does it because she's beautiful, L'Shemeshus Ishus, because he wants to just be married to this beautiful woman, L'Shem Dabaracher, he has some ulterior motive, Kil Poigeh Be'ereva. The Karavani Be'enai Liyos Havlad Mamzer. So the Abashol is extremely strict, and says that Mamish, it's very, very shaky ground for a person to do Yibum when it's not for the right reasons. No, the pasuk says Yevamot yavo aleha mikol makom. So therefore, what he was saying was that it's not that the generations changed, but according to Abashol, he was very, very strict, and therefore he really suggested chalitza should be better. But the Rabbanan ended up saying, no, you should still do Yibum anyway. And that's the reason why he says that I ended up saying that mitzvahs even could have been mitzvahs chalitza. It's not because achshari dari, but because of the pshat that we paskin like the shita of the Tanakama, who says that you should still do Yibum nonetheless. Which of course is not the minhag Ashkenaz. We only do chalitza. There is no Yibum in Ashkenazic communities. Fine. So Tanul had the Tanur Rabbanan. So Yevamot yavo aleha, the pasuk says Yavam that you should do Yibum. So mitzvah shabatchil haisel. That's what you should do first. Haisel of bechlal heter nesra v'chazr v'hutra. So let's say, says Rashi, that originally shabatchila ad shaluk kad she'echav, before you married the brother Nesra, she was aser. Kishikitcha echav, b'chaz v'hutra, kishimeis b'lobanim. So what ended up happening? So she was mutter. Your brother married her. She became aser. Now she becomes mutter. So yachol taxel hatera harishon. You would think that she goes back to her original heter, which we'll see what that means. Mitzvah man mitzvah. So man tana. So Rabbi Yitzchak bar Abdimi Abasholhi, who's very strict, that you have to have the right intentions. Yevamot yavo aleha mitzvah shebatchil haisalav b'chal heter. You were able to marry her. Ratza, if you wanted, you can marry her l'shem noi. Kansa, ratza l'shem ishus kainsa. So you can marry her for any reason. It's not a problem. She's just a single woman. However, Nesra, once she becomes your brother's wife, she's asur to you. L'chaz v'hutra. And now your brother died childless, you can marry her. But yachol tasel hater harishon, you would think that means you can marry her for the same reasons. Talmud Lorma yavo aleha, a mitzvah. It has to be l'shem mitzvah. You're not doing l'shem mitzvah, then you're in trouble. Then better you should do chalitza. Rabbi Omer Fiel Tim Rabban V'Hachi Kamer Yevamot Yavo Leha Misna Shemad Chilo Haisa B'Chlal Heter Ratza Kainza Ratza Ein Kainza. Originally, you could marry her if you want, and then Nesra, your brother marries her, she's also to you. Chazra V'Hutra, and now all of a sudden she is mutter. So Yachol Taksil Hater Harishon, you would think that means you can just go back to the original situation, Ratza Kainza Ratza Ein Kainza, that if you want you could marry her or not. So in 1 second. What do you mean Ratza Ein Kainza? Ha'agida Bey, he's connected to her. So he's connected. B'chtei tepuk. Ela ema ratza kainsa ratza chaylatzla. If he wants, he could do yibum or chalitza. Tamlama yavayavleha mitzvah. That's actually a mitzvah to do yibum l'chayra, even in a situation where again, whether it's l'shem mitzvah or not. Okay, we'll stop here. But again, this is the tension between Amashol and the Chachamim, whether Yibum should still be done. Okay, let's see if there's another question. TB 24. Ha'im ha'yavama goiva ksubasa menechsi bal harishon or menechsi ha'yavam umahatam. Okay, same question. So kashesh harishon, if the first man has possessions going to chasim. Ki isha tiknu uyavam min hashemayim v'loi nishtavdu nechasav. However, kashen rishon, if let's say the first one doesn't have money, tiknu hem in the yavam, then the second guy has to kadesh tehikala be'enav l'haitzi. Ad kan.